right, welcome back to this edition of the Sports Brief Podcast. I don't know if this is considered an episode or if it's not, but I'll tell you what we are going to do. We're going to bring in our good buddies from the Minnesota Bias podcast, Hunter Plante, and also Daniel Revier. I got to be honest with you, it did take me an hour to rehearse both of those names, but that's neither here nor there. I got to thank you guys so much for coming on. This is so much fun.
Oh my gosh, of course, dude. Thank you. It's great to be back. Truly.
I feel that time of the year too, so yeah, it's good.
I feel like now as we get moving here, I know I'll quit dilly-dallying in just a second, but I feel like I've got two Minnesota guys here that actually know more about the Vikings than I do. And you guys don't know what it feels like to have somebody that knows more than me. And it's like I've got people to catch up to, and number two, it makes me feel great that I've got somebody that has suffered along with me as well. So but I'll end it there. But I will say, once again, we're bringing them on for a 7-round mock draft. We will leave the description in our description. We'll leave the social media platforms for you guys to give the Minnesota Bias people a follow. They're wonderful people. They come up with everything that is Minnesota sports. We just do NFL, so they've got us one up there. But anyway, so we'll go ahead and we'll get started here. This is kind of a crazy mock draft because I'll be picking number one. Daniel will be picking second, and then followed by Hunter picking third, or that next pick after that. This is going to be an interesting draft because, at my mind, it's tough when we think about there's no, like, when we're talking about just edge rusher, for example, there's nobody that you want to trade up for. There's not a Nick Bosa. There's not a Peyton Manning in this draft in which you actually want to trade up for. So this is going to be a very interesting draft, and I'm actually going to start things off pretty interesting here. And I hope you guys kind of bear with me here as we get moving here. But so for the first pick, I'm going to go a little bit off kilter here. With the Jaguars, I always say them wrong. I always say the Jags wrong. I'm torn between going with a guy like Aiden Hutchinson, but at the same time, like I have been saying this from the very beginning. I feel like every one of these edge rushers is almost a one-year wonder. Like I'm not comfortable taking anybody with this first overall pick. So I'm going a little wild. We're going to start it off. The Jags got a need at a D-line, linebacker, and safety. I'm going to go a little bold here. I don't know if this is actually how it's going to fall, but D-line, linebacker. Now that I'm thinking about it, like this is tough.
It's tough.
The pressure. Do
we need to cut the clock going for you or what?
No clocks. That just makes everything a lot worse. that'll only make my anxiety that much worse. I'm going bold here. I know that PFF doesn't have the Jags as having that corner, but Ahmad Gardner, I'm going Ahmad Sauce Gardner here because we're going to start off things a little wild tonight because I have felt Ahmad Gardner has been this top corner in this draft for a long time now. Don't get me wrong, Derek Stingley Jr., if he can return back to his freshman year form at LSU, I'm excited. But for right now, for my money, Ahmad Gardner literally didn't allow a touchdown in all of college. 0 touchdowns, a guy that has all the length, the speed you want. I'm going to Ahmad Gardner here. I know that might shock some people, but I've seen mock drafts where he goes number 2. Why not number 1, baby? Because Aiden Hutchinson, again, if you look at his college production, there's only 1 year in which he's actually had any serious college production. He is a one-year wonder at this point. So I go Ahmad Gardner.
Same with Trayvon Walker, right, Colton? Same with Trayvon Walker, who I thought you were going to take, but Trayvon Walker is a lot like Danielle Hunter, where I think, the traits and the athleticism really outweigh the production. So I didn't expect Sauce Gardner here, but you're right. If the Lions think they can get him at 2, why not the Jaguars take him at 1? So I could see it happening, honestly. I mean, it would be interesting, but Sauce is good. He's legit.
Daniel, your reaction, plus if you want to go into that number 2 pick. I have a feeling, by the way, we're gonna have a lot of these picks that are, by me, they're gonna be out of left park because and you guys can also agree or disagree with me on this. I'm a huge value over need guy. So the BPA is because especially if you're a team like the Vikings that doesn't have a ton of needs, BPA is definitely where I'm at. So I'm sorry, I'll let you take it away, Mr. Revier.
Yeah. You and Hunter are very much the same in that way, where you guys are always best player available, and I'm very much a need-based guy. Who do I need? And I do, but when you get to see teams like this, these top 3 teams, there's literally, I mean, you look at it's hilarious. I don't know if we all have it pulled up, but I have the PFF mock draft simulator. Not a plug, but congrats on the free sponsorship, PFF.
Because they're listening, aren't they?
But I mean, I would be.
True.
I'm looking at the needs, and you look at like the Texans, and it's needs every position. Like you go to these top 5 picks, and it kind of does become a best player available thing, unless there's a franchise quarterback. It's not like you can just say, "Oh, I need a wide receiver, so I'm going to take a wide receiver, the best wide receiver number 1." You have to go, at least in these top 5 picks, you have to go best player available, and then see what your needs are. If it's there, if the guy's there to fill it, take him. I am going to go best player available here with the Lions pick, and it's not even a question for me. It's Aiden Hutchinson. I say if I'm the Lions and I see Sauce Gardner go number 1, to quote Hunter, you're sprinting that card to the podium. Mm-hmm. You have to take Aiden Hutchinson here.
I use that a lot, don't I?
You do say that a lot.
Thank you the last time tonight that we use that, by the way.
It will not. Hunter will use it on every one of his picks, guaranteed. Take the over on that bet, ladies and gentlemen. You have to take Aiden Hutchinson here at number 2. This dude is a monster. Here's the other thing, and I'm going to tell you straight up, I was going D-line here regardless. And here's why. Brad Holmes is the new GM for the Detroit Lions. Brad Holmes comes from the front office of the Los Angeles Rams, who took 3 D tackles or 3 D linemen, Robert Quinn, Aaron Donald, and Michael Brockers in the first round in 3 consecutive drafts. And look where it got them. This is a guy who knows that defensive linemen can realistically, if you set that good foundation of your defense, you can rise to the next level very quickly as long as you get those other pieces to fall. Get the right coach in there. And Aiden Hutchinson is a home run pick at number 2. I would have definitely I definitely take him number 1 if I'm the Jaguars. I would have forced the Lions to take Kayvon Thibodeau, who I don't think is a bad prospect.
I would just like one thing to say here real quick, and then I'll let Hunter prove me wrong. I feel like in this draft, because of the fact that there's not an established guy that has multiple years of double-digit sack production, I feel like you can be comfortable if you're the Jags getting a number 1 corner in Sauce Gardner, going into the second round, getting a guy like Nick Bonito, Drake Jackson, any of those guys. And I think you can justify it. Like, I think you can legitimately take a serious look at that because, you know, in 10 years, if I'm wrong, if there's a Hall of Famer, I will be okay with that. You know why? Because we look at these drafts. I can tell you, I bet you as Vikings fans, we look back at some of these drafts from like 5-10 years ago, and we're like, well, why did they take this player over there? Well, it was, you know, had a weird combine, whatever it was. You know, hindsight's always 20/20, but I feel like especially this is kind of a deeper edge class when you think in terms of all these different guys that you might not, you know, that have first round grades. Nick Bonito, DeMarvin Leal's a guy I've seen that's fallen for some reason in PFFs.
I mean, I'm just going to get the Minnesota bias in here. Boye Mafa.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, exactly.
He's a monster.
Who isn't getting out of the first round? He's not getting out of the first round. I would be stunned if he gets out of the first round.
Yeah.
At this point, yeah.
I don't know, because on one end I see him going like towards like 29, 30, but on the other end, but it's like that's not. For talent wise, I just don't see. I think he's right up there with guys like Jermaine Johnson the second. I think, you know, but I could be wrong.
He's a guy that could easily go in the first round, but I wouldn't be surprised if he slipped into the early second round. Personally.
Yeah, I mean, I saw an interesting thing today that
they go more for production in college rather than after college. You know, they're not focused so much on the combine, the you know, after the interviews or whatever. And I think that's the way you got to go. So, I mean, Boye Mafe is a really good player, tested really well, but I mean, the production in college just wasn't what some of these guys have, you know? So I think that's why maybe he could slip out of the first round, but it's an interesting thought.
The third overall pick, who you got, Hunter?
So, yeah, I mean, whenever you do these mock drafts, Houston, you always see like what their needs are, and
every position.
It literally says everything. It says everything. So I get the fun choice of picking Houston here. I'm a guy who really likes Davis Mills. I think in the thing that he did, I think he really had a good year last year for being a 3rd-round pick out of Stanford. You know, maybe a guy that not a lot of people thought that they could, you know, build upon. But now that they traded Deshaun Watson, let's go get him a protector. I'm going Ike Ekwonu from NC State. Just a monster. I mean, you could go the kid from Alabama. You could go Evan Neal. You could go the Charles Cross from Mississippi State, which is a little high, I think, here. So I'm going to go with Kwanu, who I think is the best lineman in this draft. Again, you could go Trayvon Walker, you could go Kayvon Thibodeau, but with a team that has needs all across the board, I'll go with Ike Kwanu. Let's protect our maybe not franchise quarterback, but someone that you could think that could be your guy for the next 3 to 5 years. So I'll go Ike Kwanu. Great name too, by the way. So I would love to see. Can't wait to see Roger Goodell run that name up there. It's an interesting choice, I think, for Houston. Like I was before you made the pick for Gardner, I was taking Sauce Gardner. I was thinking him because they have a need at corner too. But we'll protect Davis Mills here at number 3 overall. Remember, they still have 13 as well. So
that's true. You know, you're right. You raised up a really good point about Davis Mills. Nobody is thinking about this guy, and it's kind of a travesty to me. It's like this man did, I think I don't remember the stats off the top of my head, but a lot of people here, I'm going to look them up as we're going here because I actually looked at this the other day. Davis Mills had a better statistical season than Trevor Lawrence. And I think, obviously take that with somewhat of a grain of salt because both were but a guy that passed for over 2,600 yards, 16 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. I mean, I don't remember if y'all remember the Christian Ponder days, but those would have been a good year. That would have been a good year for Christian Ponder. So,
well, and he didn't start 16 games either.
No, exactly. So,
guys, I will say this though: I am not ruling out Malik Willis at 3.
Mm-hmm. That's also a good point here too.
I'm not ruling out a quarterback at 3. I think
I'll rule it out.
I
actually, and it's not just to be a contrarian to Hunter like I usually do. It's genuinely because I think I think next year's quarterback class looks a lot better, and you ride with Davis Mills and try to and say, okay, either one of two things is going to happen. He's going to hit, and we look like geniuses, or he's not, and we're going to end up in the top 5 again.
Yeah.
But again, my argument to that is last year, what was the quarterback class? Oh, it's one of the greatest quarterback classes of all time. And right now it's looking to be a pretty big bust. So yes, just because the class is looking good, this class might not be good. Kenny Pickett, Malik Willis, there's guys that aren't, they'd be maybe 4th, 5th round picks last year, but they could be really good. So, I would rule out a quarterback to Houston.
We need to address the idea that this quarterback class is already a bust on another show because that's just outrageous.
Yeah,
I'm just saying. I like Trevor Lawrence wasn't that good.
His coach was spending more time in the club than his players.
Here's the thing. I see both sides to this, but I'm also a big component of looking at the issue for what it was. Obviously, yes, you would have liked to have seen a better year from Trevor Lawrence, but can we back up and just did we really expect Trevor Lawrence to have an all-pro type season? Do we expect? No, we didn't expect that. But I do think we did expect a little more in terms of production, in terms of kind of elevating the Jags a little bit more. But I will say, year 2, he's got a better coach with Doug Peterson. He's got I think he's going to have a better base and a better culture surrounding him. I'm actually really excited for Trevor Lawrence. And that is a great thing we can address because I do think Hunter Race is a great point. Like just if we were just to stop and just grade it off this year alone, this would definitely be a class that we're like, this could be a bust. Like this, just if we stopped grading it now, but obviously it doesn't stop here. But okay, I'm sorry, I'll quit talking. I know that's one of my biggest issues. So now we've got, just to kind of recap real quick, we've got Ahmad, Sauce Gardner, Aiden Hutchinson, and Ike Ekwonu. I listen to the Purple for the Win podcast all the time. That he calls him Icky. I love it. So at 4, I got the Jets. This one's interesting for me because at 3 immediate needs, like wide receiver, linebacker, and corner. They did a lot in the offseason, and I did it a lot. The guy that brought in Tyler Conklin. I was kind of heartbroken about that. But you sit here at number 4, and you have a guy like Derek Stingley Jr. that's still on the board. You still have a guy like Charles Cross that's still on the board. Evan Neal's there, Thibodeau. Trent McDuffie's there, plus the Jets will be back at 10. So if I'm sitting here, I would argue that Evan Neal, if you just watch the tape on this guy, I think he's the best right tackle in this draft class. And if you look, I think that starting offensive line for the Jets, it's Mekhi Becton. Left guard is Elijah Vera Tucker. I think center is Connor McGovern or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. Then right guard is Laken Tomlinson. And then right tackle, I think they have that starter from the Seahawks. Hold on, Jets. He was respectable, and he was actually played very well for the Seahawks. So I'm blanking. George Fant. Yeah. So Fant can come in and start right away and do his thing and do some good things. But Evan Neal, potentially the best right tackle prospect. Like we all saw guys like Alex Leatherwood last year that was really good, but we knew that a guy like Evan Neal was going to be it. And I think that Evan Neal here is the best right tackle in this draft over Charles Cross. Yes, I know he's a little bit of him and Iquanu are a little bit of physical freaks, but I go Evan Neal here because I think that the Jets, they shore up that offensive line. Zach Wilson has got just mammoths in front of him that he will have mountains of time. I love it. What do you guys think?
I love it. I would be tempted to go receiver here because, it's a lot like what the Bengals did last year. They didn't need a wide receiver. They took Jamar Chase, and look how that worked out for him. So I wouldn't be opposed to getting Zach Wilson another target. But, yeah, I love Evan Neal too. I think he would be tempting for Houston as well. But I love Neal here at 4.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. I'm a huge Evan Neal fan. I actually – personally, I have him ranked higher right now on my big board. I have him higher than Icky, just because his physically he's all muscle mass. There's like to weigh that much and have the fat content that he has is outrageous. It terrifies me to my very core.
And remember, guys, the Jets do have 10 too, so they can
exactly
Wilson. Anybody at 10.
They better hit this first round out of the park, and I think they start out really well with Evan Neal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so going with the Giants now, I'm actually going to go ahead and say I genuinely think that they go Charles Cross here in this situation.
Wow.
And it's a little bit of a reach, but I don't think so they have the 7th pick too. So I think they take Charles Cross at 5, and here's where my thinking is. I don't think you look at the Panthers at number 6, and I'm so torn on what the Panthers are going to do. I personally think they're going to go quarterback, and if I'm in the Giants' war room, I'm thinking that. But at the same time, I'm saying, do I genuinely believe that Charles Cross is going to be there at 7, where I know certain guys at other positions of need are going to be there? You need another tackle because, and I'm not going to lie, I almost went. If you thought that was a reach, I almost went Tyler Linderbaum.
Geez, that would have been a big reach.
Yeah. You need some more guys to move that offensive line to make a push at the initial point of attack, because Saquon Barkley is way too good to be averaging 2 yards a carry.
Amen.
That guy he needs to not get hurt all the time. He needs an offensive line. He needs to not be getting leveled by D tackles. Let that guy take on a couple linebackers, and you are going to see rookie Saquon Barkley again. I absolutely believe that. Get that guy to the second level, and there's no ceiling for him. Like, the guy is just the potential is limitless if you can get him to the second level, and that's something that the Giants haven't been able to do. Andrew Thomas took a massive step forward last year. Now you get the right edge opened up. That's where Saquon Barkley thrives, is going outside, running outside. He's not going to do a lot of damage between the tackles for you. Unfortunately, that's just not who he is. But if you get him outside and you have the tackles to do that, dude is going to work wonders.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, if there's any team that's going to make a reach in the NFL draft, it's probably going to be the New York Giants. Right? Because, I mean, you look at I know it's a new regime, but their history, Saquon Barkley, it's very tough to take a running back at number 2. I get he's talented. And then Daniel Jones in 2019. So the Giants are known to take a huge leap. So I'm here at 6 with the Carolina Panthers, and this is it for Matt Rule. He absolutely needs to hit this draft. He needs to hit this season, or else he is gone. And what do the Panthers need most? They need a quarterback. And Danny, you hit it on the head. This quarterback class isn't very good, but I'm going to take the best quarterback in this class. I'm going Kenny Pickett. It might be a reach, but I love Kenny Pickett. He's experienced. He's a winner. He's got a good arm. He can move the pocket. And again, I think he's the most ready out of this class. I don't think Malik Willis is that ready. I don't think any other. I think Desmond Ridder might be close, but I don't think he's here. I don't think he's the pick here at 6. I think Kenny Pickett. The connections are just too deep. Matt Rule actually recruited him to play at Temple, so I think he's going to fall in love with Kenny Pickett. Unless they make a move for Baker Mayfield, I see Kenny Pickett being the pick here at 6. Might be a little bit of a reach, not a great quarterback class, but Matt Rule is very desperate, and he's going to make a move here for a quarterback.
That is, I think that's a really good way to put it, because I think, like you said, there is no other option. Like you have to come out with a number one quarterback. I mean, obviously there was the rumors going for Kirk Cousins. I know they were on the Deshaun Watson trade as well. Yep. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see, and again, if I hate this kind of a situation for NFL teams and coaches, because you have to pick a guy, otherwise you can't rely on anybody else to start. I mean, like Sam Darnold, I thought he was going to be it last year. I really did. But I was wrong. And I think moving forward, that's going to be a very interesting thing, because what that does for me, though, is that pushes another name down the board that the Vikings, could see. And I love it. I absolutely love it. So with that, because also, by the way, I don't know if I mentioned this. Obviously, those of you watching us, Hunter put out a draft, and I'll go ahead and see if I can share pictures of that or get the link, because I will say it was one of the most in-depth pieces of work that I've ever seen, and it was incredible. The Vikings ended up with Kyle Hamilton, a little bit of a spoiler there, but I mean, just top to bottom, one of the best drafts I've seen. So I got to give a little bit of props there.
I appreciate it. Thanks, man. That's awesome. Most people know I love the NFL draft, so I worked hard on it, but I appreciate the plug there. So for your listeners, make sure to go follow. I know Colton we'll share pictures of it.
Absolutely. So then now we're here at 7 with. I'm sorry.
I just got to get this in here. I'm the Giants, and the Panthers just took Kenny Pickett. I am immediately getting the Falcons and the Seahawks on the phone and starting a bidding war over my 7th pick.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
For who?
For Malik Willis.
That
why?
Dude, that dude is getting so many comps. He's a project, and I'm not going to pretend he's not. He's not the guy you go out and say this is our day one starter. This is a Trey Lance situation where he's going to have to sit for a year, maybe 2. But this is a guy that you kind of, if you're the Falcons and the Seahawks, you want this kid.
But why do you have to get above? I just don't think the Giants are going to take a call.
No. That's why if I'm the Giants, I'm calling the Seahawks.
But I don't think Atlanta takes a quarterback this high. They could.
This is the weirdest quarterback draft class for me, though. When you think about it,
it is the weirdest in recent memory. I
honestly feel like if I was like back when the Vikings, before they extended Kirk Cousins, they had like PFF would literally in the 3rd round they were grabbing Carson Strong, and I don't know, a guy like Carson Strong, a tall guy that has a strong arm, I just feel like, I mean, why force a pick? I'm a huge value over need guy. I would not, because that's just how you shoot yourself in the foot. That's how you see guys that fall to the 2nd, 3rd rounds that just honestly shouldn't be there. But I do get the point. I get what Dan is trying to say here, and I actually agree.
I do too. Yeah.
But at the same time, because I think the bigger point Dan is trying to make here, and it makes a lot of sense, is the point of the quarterback tax, because there has been in recent years quarterback taxes. We saw it to a degree last year in the 3rd round with the Vikings taking a guy like Kellen Mond, and then obviously the third round and the 1st round are different, but I will say that we did see that to a degree in later on the draft last year, because I mean NFL teams just didn't take those 3 quarterbacks right off the board. Anyway, I'll get right back into it, but that is a very interesting. I wish we could trade down, because I mean there's a lot of teams right here there's a lot of talent. Stingley's there, Thibodeau, Hamilton. Yeah, there's still a lot. So if I'm here at 7, the Giants, they've already got Charles Cross, excuse me, like Mr. Revier picked a little bit earlier. So we got Charles Cross. Thibodeau's there. You've got needs an O-line, edge, and linebacker. I mean, I would love to trade down here to get just a haul, because I think I could. But if I had to stick and pick, Thibodeau. My big question here is between Karlaftis and Thibodeau, because there's no linebacker here that and if we're talking value, yes, could the Giants go for corner here at Derek Stingley Jr.? Yes, but Thibodeau or Karlaftis. I'm going Karlaftis here, George Karlaftis, and I'll tell you why. I like Kayvon Thibodeau, but I have some questions about how he will be successful in the NFL. And if you were looking at a guy like Karlaftis, I like the physical tools. Yeah, you talk about a guy, and again, I think we've also kind of said it though, that there was never any particular player in this draft that really found a way to get double-digit sacks for multiple years. And I know that's not a great thing to go off of here, but we're looking at a guy that's 6'4", 280, and that in the general range. He's got long arms. I think he's got enough edge to cut or enough speed to come off the edge. He had 4.5 sacks and 10 tackles for loss last year for Purdue. So I'm really betting on the physical tools here. You combine him with Aziz Ojulari. I love that edge coming off for the future. And again, you could tell me Thibodeau, okay, I would be okay with that. But here in a spot where you want to talk about betting on potential, I really like George Karlaftis in his ceiling. And even what's his floor? Just a third down pass rusher? Okay. Like I maybe not necessarily worth a top 10 pick, but at least a guy that, maybe you could get cheap on a second contract that comes in and provides you with an edge presence. But I go Karlaftis here. Your guys' thoughts?
I like it. I think Karlaftis is a guy who the pre-draft process has really hurt him because he really hasn't done much. I mean, his pro day, his NFL combine, the combine. I mean, this guy was productive in college. He's very opposite of Aiden Hutchinson. Like, he was very good for 3 years at Purdue. I mean, he was really, really good. He was a top 15 pick coming into this year. I think it's a reach for the Giants, but again, is Kayvon Thibodeau, it kind of screams what they said about Anthony Edwards going to the Timberwolves. Does he like the game he plays? I think that's Kayvon Thibodeau's big thing. And I love Karlaftis, but I just think they have to trade down. I just don't think there's anyone here that they really love. But like you said, you gotta stick and pick here. So I like the pick. I really like him as a potential second rounder to the Vikings, maybe. But hey,
don't you tempt us like that?
Oh yeah, don't put that evil on me, Richard.
Don't you put that foolish hope in our brains?
I do, Hunter. Thank you for that, because I was afraid. I was like, could I get laughed off the set here? Because like you said, we can't trade down. We got to stick and pick, and it's like,
rushers are so weird. I mean, there's a guy that's going to be in the 7th round that's going to have 10 sacks next.
Yep.
So I mean, and there's going to be a guy like you can take edge rusher, you can take physical tools, and I think Karlaftis has those. I really do.
Daniel, now I believe you've got the Falcons at 8. What are your thoughts?
So the Falcons went out and got Marcus Mariota after trading before or after trading Matt Ryan. Either way, they have Marcus Mariota in the building right now. Your gut says, well, take Malik Willis, let him be a project under Marcus Mariota, and I think that's actually not what they'll do. I actually think they're going to call Seattle and see what they can get. But this is where you say, okay, we give Mariota the season. We don't bring in a rookie. Maybe bring someone in the 2nd and 3rd round, but we don't bring in somebody with our 1st round pick. Let's give ourselves some tools so that we can sell tickets and actually have a season here this year. Needs from PFF are quarterback, guard, center, D-line, and cornerback. And I'm not addressing any of those needs. I'm stuck between two guys, and I'm going with the guy that I've had as my top player at this position from USC. I'm going to take Drake London.
Wow. Okay.
Great
because there is nobody to. There's Kyle. Holy crap! I already forgot his last name. There's Kyle Pitts, and nobody else to catch passes in Atlanta right now. You got to sell tickets somehow. Drake London is a really good prospect. I've really been liking my USC wide receivers over the last couple of years. I was a big Michael Pittman guy when he was coming out. I'm still a big Michael Pittman fan, by the way, in case anyone's wondering. Drake London looks like he has all the tools to succeed. I was torn between him and Garrett Wilson. And Garrett, that's another guy I really like. But again, kind of like edge rusher, there's just so many good wide receivers in this draft. And it's
not great. Yeah, not great.
Not great, good. Guys that are going to be guys that have the potential to do great things eventually, but just need some time. And Drake London is one of those guys that I just think all the tools are there for him to be very successful. And I think that's a guy that you can kind of start building a wide receiver room around.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, look at it. Lions. Look at what the Lions did. They went out and got Calvin Johnson, and then got their quarterback. Now, I'm not by any means saying Drake London is a Calvin Johnson type, but you look at that model, and it has worked in the past.
Mm. I like the pick.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah, I mean, London and Wilson are pretty much polar opposites, right? I mean, London's not gonna blow you away with his speed, but you throw a 50-50 ball up there, he's gonna go get it. You know, he's a good route runner,
and he's gonna beat you at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. So if I'm Seattle, this board is perfect for me right now.
Mm-hmm.
I get my choice of two of the best edge rushers in this class. And for me, it's simple. I'm going Trayvon Walker. The slide stops now. The best edge rusher in this class goes to the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, this dude's a freak. I mean, I think he's going to be the number one pick. I really do. I think he's going to Jacksonville. But hey, in our mock draft, boys, he's a Seahawk, and he's, you know, because in that division, you need to get to the quarterback, Kyler Murray, Matthew Stafford, and Trey Lance, more than likely. You need to get to the quarterback. So they got two good choices here, but, I mean, it's Trayvon Walker, physical freak. Again, production wasn't there. He was on a stacked defense at Georgia, but he's going to be – I think he's going to be the best edge rusher out of this class. So I'm going Trayvon Walker to Seattle. And this is a home run pick for a team that really didn't have a first-round pick before they traded Russell Wilson.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You know, that's really interesting. I just didn't want to give anything to traction to that Trayvon Walker thing. I didn't know. Like you look at a guy that, again, probably is going to be what happens, like you say. But I sit there and I'm like, man, like after all the mock drafts I've seen, after all the mock drafts I've done this year, I'm just like, you've got to be kidding me. A guy that I didn't even have in the top 15 is all of a sudden going number one. I was trying to be a little bit bold, but I do agree that he probably is going to go number one, but it is.
And to your point, I think Trayvon Walker is a guy, and Danny, you might agree with me too. He's either number one or he's number 31. You know what I mean? Like, there's really no in between. I think he's the best player on people's board, or he's the end of the first round players board. So, I mean, if Jacksonville loves him, it's an easy choice. But I think there's no in between. I think 16 teams are going to really love him. I think 16 teams are really going to push him down the board, and it's going to be interesting to see what team ends up with them.
That's a really good analysis, to be honest with you. It's going to be one of those things where I'm going to have to really see this. But I will say, with the Jets at 10, you've got guys like Jamison Williams on the board. I know about the ACL, I understand it, but Jamison Williams, I think he's going to slide just a little bit because of the knee. Because I don't think we can debate, even if this man was 100% healthy, I think he'd be wide receiver one, no question. But because of the knee, he's going to need a little bit of time. I think they're going to want to get a wide receiver in right away to get in with Zach Wilson. Obviously, I know, you really like what you saw from guys like Elijah Moore last year and all that. They've got some weapons as well. But I do think, you want a big guy. I would have loved Drake London at this spot, but my boy Revier over there took. I understand it. That was a great pick by the Falcons. But 10 here, you got to pick between. I think these three guys. I think you could definitely make a kind of a case here. But Jamison Williams, you also got a need at linebacker, and I don't know. I don't think you can justify taking guys like Nakobe Dean or Devin Lloyd here yet. I do think you go a guy like Garrett Wilson here, so I'm going Garrett Wilson. I feel like I don't fall in love with that pick, but I feel like you get one of the best wide receivers in this draft. You get a running mate with a guy like like we talked about Elijah Moore. Also, they got some tight ends now. They got a really good offensive line. You've got some weapons. I think this is going to be one of those things that puts them in a position where Zach Wilson will not have a lot of excuses, and if he doesn't pan out right away, could we see possibly the Jets trade for someone? Because if I'm not, is this the last year they have a first round draft pick from the trade with Seattle? Okay. So, I mean, could we see them potentially trade if Zach Wilson doesn't work out? Maybe. So I think at some time they're going to take a look at the talent they got. And I think that it starts with a pick like this. I go with a guy like Garrett Wilson at 10. Thoughts?
And Colton, like you said too, I mean, Zach Wilson needs to have a good year this year. So are you going to take a guy like Jamison Williams who might not be healthy for the first month of the season. You know, he tore his ACL in January, and usually it's a 10 or 9 month process. So that's going to put his time right around October, and that's going to miss a month of the season. So I think you got to take a. I don't think Wilson's better than Williams, but I just think he's obviously healthier, and he's a safer pick here. So I love your pick of that's who I had in my mock draft. So I love that.
Okay, Daniel.
Yeah, and now I hate this team so much.
You have a tough pick here.
Their bullcrap little league nickname, and their just horrible owner. Dan Snyder is the worst owner in the NFL, and quite frankly, no one's going to change my mind on that. And I'm literally looking at this. I'm trying to look at this through Dan Snyder glasses, and I'm saying, okay, he's going to make the worst move that he can make, because that's just who Dan Snyder is. And I can't bring myself to go down that far. I think he's dumb enough to go need-based here, but not smart enough to take the project, and I think he's going to take Devin Lloyd.
Wow.
It's the fourth need.
Wow.
And I'm so...
Even if they took
Jamin Davis last year.
Jamin Davis, yeah, that's interesting.
I can't do it. I hope you guys haven't locked that in yet.
Oh, okay. Who are you going with?
I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, and I'm going to go best player available and stop the skid. It's Kayvon Thibodeau here. It's not need. It's not need, but I can't bring myself to make a Dan Snyder pick here. So yeah, I mean, it's hard, and it's hard to not make like the complete Dan Snyder pick and go take a Tyler Linderbaum here just to completely screw up everything. But at the same time, I know he doesn't have all the final say and doesn't have all the influence. And you know what? The more I've looked into this, and the more I actually pulled up their depth chart and looked at their cornerback and defensive back room, and I actually do feel good calling this a Dan Snyder pick, because I passed on Derek Stingley Jr. and Kyle Hamilton, who both fill really big needs for that team that I don't think are being addressed by the PFF needs generator here. I think Stingley is way better than a lot of people have him. One person in particular, Hunter Plante. I'm a big Stingley fan. Even if I am pronouncing his name wrong, I'm not 100% sure, to be honest.
Duffy's better.
Stingley?
It's Stingley. Yeah,
Duffy's better than Stingley.
Let's start this right now. The nickname that Derek Stingley is going to have is Stingy, because he's going to be stingy with the types of things he's going to give up. It's going to be a lot of boom or bust stuff early, because I think he's going to try to ball hawk a little bit too much. But the guy, I mean, there's a lot of tape from LSU practices of him locking down Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, and this dude. I mean, you talk about game tape, and there's not a lot there that makes you say this is a top 10 pick. But you look at 2019. There is in 2019. That's exactly it. And there's a ton of practice footage. There's a ton of footage outside of his 2020 and 2021 game film that really screams, this is the dude. And I really think that a team needs to take the bet on him. But I think the Dan Snyder pick wins out, and they take Kayvon Thibodeau, because how could he have slid this far? And I think that's going to be. I'm okay with that pick from the Dan Snyder perspective. I'm not okay with that pick from just purely a football. I want these teams to do the best job drafting that they can kind of way.
That makes sense. It's weird for me, because they've got the potential to have one of the most dominating D lines in all of football, but it's like Chase Young, I mean, he barely. I don't think he even had a handful of sacks last year. It was kind of shocking. Like, I don't know. I know there was a lot going on. I don't know if Ron Rivera is the answer there. I don't know. Maybe that's something. He had a sack and a half. Literally, that's, you know, I know there's more things that go into that, injuries and all.
He was hurt for a lot of the year, though.
Yeah, there is, like I said, there is injuries, but you know, there were 5 or 6 games there where I was watching tape, and this man, he didn't have the impact he thought he would. And I know, again, injuries play a little bit of that, a role into that. So it could be an interesting pick. If you add Kayvon Thibodeau to Chase Young, Jonathan Allen, and Montez Sweat, the quarterbacks in the East are in deep crap. That's interesting. I forgot about Montez. I don't know how you forget about Montez Sweat, but that's
because he plays for the.
Sorry, he play?
I'm still going to call him the football team because somehow that's a better name than the freaking Commanders.
If you can't cover the quarterback, it really doesn't matter. Because if you go against a good offensive line, that's gonna, like the Dallas Cowboys, if you can't cover the quarterback, it ain't gonna matter. If you got, I don't care if you got freaking Lawrence Taylor there, it ain't gonna matter. Like, I think there comes a time where you got to stop taking. I mean, what is this going to be now? If they do take Thibodeau, this will be like the 5th defensive end taken by the Commanders in the last 6 years in the first round.
Yep.
Like, when are you going to start hitting on some of these guys?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. As long as Dan Snyder owns the team, they won't.
True.
Yeah.
But this is perfect for the Vikings because the Commanders can't take 3 guys.
No.
So before, I mean, I'm not even thinking twice. I'm taking Kyle Hamilton. This is the best pure player in the draft, in my opinion. I mean, he's smooth. He's a playmaker on the end, and he's going to be – I think he's going to be there outside the top 10. And this is a pick that Rick Spielman would not have made. He would have made a Derek Stingley or a Trent McDuffie or an Andrew Booth type pick here at 12. But when you have a chance to take a top 5 talent at 12, to Danny, I'm going to use it again. You run that thing to the podium. I mean, it's not even a question.
I knew it.
This time, okay, I knew it was coming because I read that in your mock draft about this exact pick. And I was like, there's no way. When I was reading your mock draft, I'm not gonna lie to you. I was reading your mock draft thinking there's no way on earth that Kyle Hamilton drops to 12, and yet here again, it's happened again. And I can't even believe it
because of his 40.
And that's such a ridiculous reason for a safety to drop that much.
I think that this is a guy that you pound your fist on the table for. And, I mean, Kyle Hamilton instantly makes this Vikings defense so much better.
Does he start over Harrison Smith right away, though, or where do you plug him in? That's my question.
He starts with Harrison Smith.
He starts with Harrison Smith.
Imagine Ryan really balled last year, man. That's tough.
He's good. But again, was that a flash in the pan? Because really it was only, 2 games he got hurt, and he didn't really play that much. I just love Kyle Hamilton, man. He's my favorite. He's my favorite player. I mean, I saw a play. I think they were playing. I don't know who they were playing last year. Kyle Hamilton was nowhere to be found, and the guy throws an out route to the sideline, and here comes Kyle Hamilton with an interception for a pick 6. I mean, just out of nowhere. Harrison Smith used to do that in his prime, but man, he's 6'4", he's big, he's long.
He can run.
This is a home run.
He's another Harrison Smith. He really is.
He's better than Harrison Smith coming out.
He's a big safety. He's a big safety with good anticipation coming out of Notre Dame. He's Harrison Smith 2.0. You let Harrison Smith mentor this kid? Are you kidding me? I mean, they're the same player, and Kyle's a little bit better with the ball.
I will say I don't understand. Like I get the fact that he fell to 12 to a degree because of all the things we just did, but a 40-time. Tyrann Mathieu bench pressed 225 4 times a couple of years ago, and people were freaking out. He only benched 225 4 times as a safety. If he's not protecting my quarterback, I don't care. So this man for running a 4.71 at his pro day, and then Tyrann Mathieu ran a 4.51 too. That was a big red flag for teams as well. He's one of the best safeties in the NFL for the past 5-6 seasons. Like that's just how it goes. He's at least top 5.
And it's weird too because like usually you see guys with a drug problem, an off the field problem. That our top 5 talents that fall to the mid-teens. Kyle Hamilton's a great kid from what I've been hearing, but it's just his 40 time, and the Vikings are gladly going to take him at 12. He does not get past 12. If he goes higher, I would not be surprised, but he will not get past 12.
I absolutely think he's a top 10 pick, and I genuinely don't know. I'm looking over everything, and I'm like, I don't know how he falls out of the top 10, but I also don't know where I changed that pick.
Right.
Maybe if I'm the Giants, instead of taking Charles Cross, I take him there.
And I also threw my wrench into things with Gardner at 1. I was messing around, but I do when we get to 13 here. This is an interesting spot. By the way, was it Derek Stingley Jr. you took with 11 there, Dan?
I took Thibodeau.
You took Thibodeau, okay? Because I marked it down already, and so in my mind, you've got guys like you are the Texans who have so many draft needs it's not even funny. Literally every position PFF says it. I think it's hilarious.
So many needs, so few picks.
I'm like, okay. So you are in a spot here where you have Derek Stingley Jr. on the board. After that, it's Trent McDuffie, Tyler Linderbaum, Devontae Wyatt. So I'm going Derek Stingley here. Because you have a guy that was a top 3 pick at one point that falls to you at 13, even if he's not his old self. I mean, I think you can justify this to the higher ups. Hey, we had a guy that, I was injured last year. He literally played through, was a LaFranc injury. I can't even don't know how to pronounce it, but he literally played through a lower leg injury or whatever it is. That's tough. When you're a DB, that shows you some toughness from a guy. So that's willing to be out there even when he's hurting for his teammates. I like that. I take Stingley here for 13 for the Texans. And then you go, I think I love that pick. And then Dan for the Baltimore Ravens, who you got?
I'm torn here because almost every mock draft I've done, all the top corners are gone. But if I'm the Ravens and I'm looking at Trent McDuffie here, I don't think I can pass on him at 14. And it's really tempting to go for like a Devontae Wyatt or a Jordan Davis, but I think you have to go Trent McDuffie here. Mm-hmm. There's so much wide receiver talent in the AFC in general. And if you're going to try to compete, you have to be able to shut down some of these passing games that you have in the NFC right now. And I think you got to go. I think you got to go with the corner here. Mm-hmm. So Trent McDuffie at 14. It's weird. I wouldn't have thought that was going to happen going into this draft, but again, it's just some weird things have happened, and Trent McDuffie kind of slides to 14.
I
like that.
I do too, especially when you think I thought the Vikings could take him at 12. But Kyle Hamilton, I love that pick too. That's why I think I messaged or I commented right away in Hunters when I saw 12. I'm like, dude, 12. He's like, I think it could happen. I would love that though. Kyle Hamilton. I'm sorry. I'm still getting over that. I'm sorry. Hunter, who would you have, or who do you think the Eagles would take at 15? The first of what? 2 second-round picks. They got another first round next year, but yeah.
Yeah, probably should have been 3 first rounders, right? Because they traded that one to New Orleans.
Yep, exactly.
I hate doing this. I hate taking a position multiple years in a row. But, man, the Eagles cannot seem to hit the wide receiver spot. I mean, I think Devontae Smith is going to be a stud. I think he was a stud last year. Jalen Reagor is just an absolute bust. We know that. Thanks.
How do you go
also for Justin Jefferson?
How do you go Reagor over Just? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no one will know. No one will know. But I just think they have to go receiver here too. I think they go Jameson Williams.
Mm-hmm. Love it.
I mean, I think before he got hurt in the national championship, he was going to be the first receiver taken.
Mm-hmm.
He's fast. He's big. He's got great hands. I think he only dropped like 2 balls his entire college career.
Yep.
I mean, he's good. He goes back to Jalen Hurts, another Alabama kid. I mean, technically Alabama kid. And then we'll get to see him up with Devontae Smith again. So I'm going Jameson Williams. I think they could go Jordan Davis. I think they could go offensive tackle, but I'm going Jameson Williams. But man, they got to hit on a receiver eventually. Again, I think this is a make or break year for Jalen Hurts. I really do. I don't think he's the answer there. So if I'm Philly, I'm tempted to go with the project at quarterback. I really am.
Mm-hmm.
Like San Fran did last year. I would be tempted for Malik Willis or Desmond Ridder, but I'm going receiver here in Jamison Williams at 15.
Mm-hmm. And then once we get down to 16 here, this is such an interesting pick for the Saints because obviously I think this was what they got from the Carson Wentz trade, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And then I want to say here, was it the Carson Wentz trade?
No, the Saints got this from Philly.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. So, that's right. Yeah.
Oh, they got 19
was
from
the Carson
Philly.
Wentz
They
trade,
got
but
16
this
from
pick from. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So you are here with Malik Willis still on the board. Sam Howell is still there. I don't think, they've got their picks of the quarterbacks right here. I think this is the best case scenario for the Saints. We did not in any way, and this is on me, I didn't put any quarterback tax into this first round. So you are in the Saints here. You have your pick. Out of all these guys, I think the only quarterback we picked was Kenny Pickett. So Malik Willis, Sam Howell, I just feel like the best quarterback on the board, if I'm being honest here, but also you can't overlook the position of need. And other than that, at wide receiver and tackle, they're going to be back at 19 anyways. I mean, I think they could get Chris Olave or Sky Moore there, or they could get, George Pickens, somebody if they want to trade down. I honestly feel like, best player available or at least a position of need. I think you go Malik Willis here, and that's where I'm going to go. Because, again, I know there has not even been a quarterback tax here, but we felt like, or at least I felt that, Malik Willis could go as early as 2 to the Lions. Like he really could.
Yeah.
We don't know what's going to happen, but I think this is like the best case scenario. I think that there's a lot of teams that are in love with a guy like Malik Willis, and I think the Saints are one of them. I think they go quarterback here, and that really does set the tempo for a lot of these other quarterback needy teams. Teams obviously like the Steelers later on, and plus obviously even teams later on like the Lions. And maybe potentially, the Giants as well.
Now, Colton, I have to ask, because you did mention Sam Howell in your, when you were going back and forth. What about Matt Corral? Is Matt Corral a guy that you'd take here at 16?
I think it is a toss-up. Out of those three guys, Sam Howell, Matt Corral, and Malik Willis, but I feel like the Saints have one of those offensive lines that I'm like, I would really be interested to see what it would do with an athletic quarterback. Like I could be completely off here. My question is, because we saw what it was like having Drew Brees that was an athletic quarterback and Jameis Winston last year. I mean, he's athletic enough. This offensive line could be interesting. Also, Matt Corral, Sam Howell, any of those guys. I honestly feel like Malik Willis is that guy that he's enough of a intriguing prospect that a lot of these teams are going to take a look at and wonder, okay, is this a possibility? Like, could he be the next Michael Vick? Could he be something bigger? So I think any of those three quarterbacks, I went Malik Willis because I think he's the best. I do think he's the best quarterback potentially in this class when we talk about double threat, dual threat. But I mean, here's the thing about when we talk about a guy like Matt Corral, I love his arm. He is honestly, I think him and Carson Strong have two of the best arms in this entire draft. My only question is do you trust, the rest of this staff of the Saints to be able to develop that? I don't know. Sean Payton leaving this, it was weird. I don't know if they've got the talent to be able to develop a guy like that. So I honestly feel like if you're being honest here, I think you go Malik Willis. Your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, and really quickly too, if you remember back to 2018. When Drew Brees was kind of on the outs, right? He was kind of contemplating retirement. I think he lasted 2 more years. Remember they traded up from 27 to 15 to take that kid from UTSA. And who did we all think they were going to take? Anyone remember?
Was that the Patrick Mahomes year, or was that?
No, it was Lamar Jackson. That's who we all thought they were going to take in 2018. So that's why I think they go Malik Willis, because I'm not saying Malik Willis is Lamar Jackson, obviously, but I think he's got those traits of a Lamar Jackson. So I don't think they pass on Malik Willis either, but it's just kind of interesting that that Malik Willis is pretty similar to Lamar Jackson when you actually look in the scheme of things. A little better thrower out of college, but I just want to bring that up because I thought it was interesting. Davenport, that's what I'm thinking of. Marcus Davenport, they took.
Okay, yeah, thank you. I was thinking, I was like, I'm these quarterback draft classes, everybody can just rattle them off, and I can't. I'm not. I'm completely inept in that. Daniel, when we get down all the way here to no, the Saints. I'm sorry. Yeah, I picked Malik Willis. Now we get to the Chargers. Who you going?
So at this point, I'm just really happy that there's no trading down in this particular mock, because that 16 is a spot where I think the Packers trying to make a jump, because I think they want this guy that I'm going to take with the Chargers pick, and that's Chris Olave.
Yep.
And it's not an area. It's not an area of huge need, but I'm looking at the board, and I'm not 17 in love with a tackle that I have been very high on this entire process, and that's Trevor Penning. But Chris Olave is a guy who I really think opens up the field for son of a name.
Oh, Justin Herbert?
Justin Herbert, thank you. I can't do names today unless I'm right at them on the screen. Mondays, right?
It's Wednesday.
I can't. I am such a big Chris Olave fan in this draft. I really do like what he brings to the table as a wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea of making him the trio, with making him that fourth player with the three-headed monster of what looked like a resurgent Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, and Austin Eckler. Kind of adding Chris Olave into that just feels like.
And Keenan Allen is aging out too. Let's not forget that
he is. And Mike Williams, you don't know what you're going to get on a week-to-week basis. Olave just, I think, adds that consistency that Keenan Allen kind of has. It almost feels to me like a Vincent Jackson to Keenan Allen kind of thing, where they're making that transition and saying, okay, let's have you learn from this guy so that you can be him but a little bit better for the years to come. And make sure that we have enough targets for Justin Herbert, and that just the golden arm of Justin Herbert. Like you say, there's the temptation to go tackle here, but I don't think you're enough in love with a Trevor Penning or Bernhard Raymond to pull the trigger on that. And I think Olave is one of those guys that you just kind of, that's a best player available pick.
Is Bernhard Raymond, was he left tackle? I can't remember.
He was a swing guy.
Was he a swing?
Yeah.
Because I feel more comfortable playing him left and then Trevor Penning right. But also, if they go that route, if they go Chris Olave, you better pray to the God of skinny punks, to quote Tommy Boy, that I feel Abram Lucas makes the second round. Because after Abram Lucas, I watched tape on all these right tackles because I have nothing else better to do with my time. I don't know. After him, I mean, I looked at guy. I'm blanking on names off the top of my head, but I looked at pretty much every other right tackle. When you talk about, obviously Trevor Penning, Abram Lucas, all those guys like Kellen Dyche, Max Mitchell, Sean Ryan, excuse me. I looked at all those guys after Abram Lucas. It's a fall. I do think tackle looks good here, but man, they better hope that Abram Lucas falls to that second round.
And it's hard because I genuinely am a huge Trevor Penning fan. I think he's going to be a very successful right tackle in this league.
He also played guard and interior O line at the team. Yeah. So it's like
I just don't see him being. I think it's a small school bias that causes him to drop into the 20s.
Okay.
And this is one of those things. This is again one of those spots where I could see the Packers making a call, and maybe the Chargers aren't in love with Chris Olave, but they think, you know what, Penny's a guy we can get at 22. Mm-hmm. Here's a spot where the Packers can make a move. As surprising as it would be, a pro Aaron Rodgers move on draft day, which is just something that we haven't seen since ever. Mm-hmm. I literally can't think of a pro Aaron Rodgers pick that they've made on the first day of the draft.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think.
I don't think there is one.
Yeah.
Literally, a lot of second and late round hits, but God, if I could think of a first round pro Aaron Rodgers move, you'd impress me.
But they haven't helped him.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know the scary thing about that pick that you just made, Danny, is he's not even is that Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave aren't even the two best receivers that Ohio State had last year. Jackson Smith and Jigba is the best receiver that they had, and he'll be a top 10 pick next year, by the way.
Yeah.
Just wanted to throw that out.
Yeah.
Which is scary how good Ohio State is going to be next year. I love the pick for Olave. For Philadelphia, again, I just might as well be the GM for the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm going Jordan Davis. Give me a run stopper. Give me a run stuffer there. I mean, name the last D tackle to get a Heisman vote. It's probably Nick Tompkins too, right? I mean, it's got to be. I think Davis is. I mean, he had a great year. He was dominant, and then he just dominated the 40 time. He dominated his pro day, dominated the combine, and he seems like a ball of energy. So he's a guy I could see going top 15. But man, this dude's a freak. Was he 340, 6'3", 340? And he'd look good next to Fletcher Cox, who they just signed for a year. So I like Jordan Davis. I think he's a pick here for the year. I was tempted to go Devin Lloyd, but we'll see.
He's very near the top of my people I wouldn't want to meet in a dark alley kind of list.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like just unless he's got your back, then he's a unit.
Do we okay? So now then we get to the Saints at 19 because that's definitely some things you got to look at because you're the Saints. I know you don't have a need at edge, but you got Kayvon Thibodeau, you've got Bernard Raymond there still at tackle.
Thibodeau's gone.
Thibodeau's gone.
Is he?
Remember, I screwed up the draft.
Right. I apologize. Yeah. I'm sorry. You have. Let me backtrack. So you got Bernard Raymond there. You've got a wide receiver, Sky Moore. Other than that, I mean, George Pickens. Yes. Treylon Burks is still there. I think Treylon Burks could wait to go to the second. Not the second, late first. This could be a trade down spot for the Saints. But to start at left tackle, Bernard Raymond, is that the route you want to go? I'm not sure because Trevor Penning's still on the board. And you've got guys like, I mean, James Hurst was respectable, but I mean, you want a future left tackle for the future. What's wrong with you, Colton? Also, Ryan Ramczyk as well. And you got him starting on one of the best right tackle spots. This is tough because you got your quarterback of the future. Do you protect him? Do you go Raymond and protect him? That's my question. Awkward silence. Yeah, I go Bernard Raymond here at 19. I just feel like, yes, I know that the Hurst can come in and is going to be your guy for at least. And the thing is, you don't have to rush a guy like Bernard Raymond, but I feel like the Saints have been really good at developing O-line, so I feel like they would definitely benefit from at least drafting a guy here. So I think that is it. I think you go Raymond there to play left for you, and you got one of the best right tackles in the entire league at right. So I think they go Raymond.
Lost on Armstead too. So
what's that?
They lost Armstead. They lost Armstead too.
Exactly. So yeah, I go Raymond here.
Yeah, and then I'm going to piggyback on that. I mean, it's one of those things where, again, I'm not thinking that Pittsburgh wants a project this year. I think they want to see, okay, are we going to get sophomore season Trubisky, who kind of looks like he might be a guy, or are we going to get every other season of Trubisky who just kind of flounders to get you to the end of the season close to 500? And I don't think you take Sam Howell to be a project under him, under Mitch Trubisky. I think you kind of see where you end up next year and see what that quarterback class looks like. So I am going to go Trevor Penning here. Wow. I said his name like 6 times today. I am a huge Trevor Penning fan. I'm not even 100% sure who the right tackle in Pittsburgh is right now, but I know he's not as good as Trevor Penning.
He made a ton of money at the Senior Bowl.
He did. He really did.
He made himself a lot of money and he did himself very good at the Senior Bowl. I mean, he's one of those guys. He's one of those small school guys who really is going to do well because of his postseason draft prep shows. For lack of a better term. So that's where I'm going.
21. Who you got?
I actually think Penning might go to Washington at 11. But
it could happen.
I think that's his ceiling, and I think like 20 is probably his floor, 19 is his floor to New Orleans. I think he's a step up from Raymond, but I mean, honestly I've never seen Raymond play, so I've seen Penning play a ton. I think Penning's he's a mauler. 21, man, New England's got some needs. I mean, do you get Mac Jones a help, or do you try to replace J.C. Jackson? Oh, man, it's tough. I think I'm going to replace J.C. Jackson. I'm going Andrew Booth, the corner out of Clemson. And I didn't have this in my mock draft, but I'm kind of second-guessing things because I just think Booth is going to be really good. I don't think he's anywhere near the level of J.C. Jackson, but he's big, he's fast, he's strong, and he's a ball hog, but he doesn't really get the ball thrown his way that much. So I'm going Booth here to go to New England. It's a tough pick. I think they go wide receiver or corner, but I think they go corner here with Andrew Booth.
I like it. But then here's the thing. The Packers, they got a need at wide receiver. They got at 22 here. You got wide receiver and O-line, most likely tackle, if I'm not mistaken, for the Packers. Wide receiver here. Is Sky Moore that guy? Like, is he that guy you take at 22, or is it George Pickens? I feel like they really have to go wide receiver here. George Pickens. I've seen George Pickens go 22. I've seen him go 28. I've seen him go in that 30 range. I've seen him go in the second round. This is tough. Also, no, Kobe Dean fell. I know they just re-signed. Who was it?
Devondre Campbell.
Yeah, Devondre Campbell, who rejuvenated his career. Which was absolutely crazy.
Packers have a habit of getting a guy in to rejuvenate their career for 1 year quick.
Yeah, I know. It's like, oh, come on. Okay, I got to think here, Colton. You got to make a decision. Okay, if you're at 22 here, let's see. I still have Thibodeau on my board. I know he went, but he's still. Let's see. Linderbaum. No.
I mean, make a decision, or I'm going to demonetize this by starting the Jeopardy theme.
Okay, we'll go George Pickens. We'll go George Pickens there because I just feel like not a ton of college production, or at least not a lot of what I would have thought. But if you're going to tell me a guy like George Pickens with the physical tools that he has, I mean, we're looking at a guy that you pair him with Aaron Rodgers, 6'3", 200 pounds. I was very, very, very hesitant to have a guy like George Pickens, who I know he was injured last year, but I mean, he's still got a ring. But I mean, you're just looking at a lot of the tools.
Before he got hurt, though.
What's that?
Good.
Yeah, he was
good.
He
was a stud before he got hurt.
Absolutely.
He was a monster when he came back, too.
I think he's going to be one of those players that, it could – I know this might be kind of not necessarily because of the same situation, but is he that type of player that could elevate your team like Randy Moss did for the Vikings back in '98? I don't know. Obviously, Randy Moss was more of a deep threat, but, I mean, George Pickens, he's got all those tools you like, and plus you pair him with a future Hall of Fame quarterback. Hate to say it, but I think you go George Pickens here at 22.
George Pickens
they almost have to go receiver with one of their two picks.
Yeah, they
have to go receiver with one of their two picks, and potentially
they are dumb enough to go defense for both those picks too. That's the thing.
I know.
I just think they would spite Aaron Rodgers and not take a quarterback and not take a wide receiver.
Yeah, or draft another quarterback. Go Sam Howell.
Or draft Desmond Ridder. I don't know.
I don't know.
But I just don't think they're smart enough to take a receiver. And if they do, it's going to be someone that no one has as a first-round receiver.
Pickens is one of those guys he's early 20s or he's late 30s.
Mm-hmm.
That's where he sits.
I think he's a good Vikings target around 2.
I would,
big time.
I just feel like even if they don't, because there's nobody else on the board that they really want to go after. Like I know defensively, you got Devontae Wyatt there. I'd like Nakobe Dean. I get it, but you just signed Devondre Campbell. I don't know. I just feel like Pickens is more the guy you want at that stage. I think he should be. I'm sorry, Dan. Who you got at 23?
Yeah, I'm going. I mentioned him earlier as a reach, and this is exactly where I want to see this guy go, and that's Tyler Linderbaum. Yep. I don't hesitate. I hunter this, and I run this to the podium. Mm-hmm. I love this pick for the Cardinals. I like Tyler Linderbaum. I tend to like Hawkeye for a Minnesota guy. I tend to like Hawkeye linemen just in general
because they're studs.
They're just studs. That coaching staff knows how to make offensive linemen work and how to prep them for the league. Tyler Linderbaum is just such a solid pick here at 23. I'm absolutely loving that.
Let's see.
I like that a lot.
I do too, by the way. I'm sorry, I'm scatterbrained right now. So I'm trying to kind of move us along here, but like what I don't think there's any other options like corner. I mean, Andrew Booth went. Yeah, I mean, Khair Alam is there, but I would more later in the first. But who do you have at 24? The Cowboys, I mean, O-line, D-line, linebacker, there's some needs here for the Cowboys.
You forget another need too, Cole, and that's wide receiver.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you did trade Amari Cooper. I mean, and Michael Gallup's going to be your number one. CeeDee Lamb's going to be your number one. Like, that's not
good. So I'm going to go kind of off the board here. And it's a name that I don't think gets into the first round.
And that's Jalen Tolbert. And I know, I'm sure both of you really don't know who that is. I'm sorry.
I know a little bit about him.
Yeah, I actually think you do know who he is, but I don't think you've watched. I love this kid. Like, he's fast. He's
tiny, right? Yeah. He's small, but man, is he good. And if there's anyone to make a splash like this, it's going to be Jerry Jones. Mm-hmm. So I'm going Jalen Tolbert, even with
I thought about Zion Johnson, the offensive guard from Boston College, is who I went with in my mock draft, but again, just kind of having second thoughts. Khair Elam is really good too, but I don't think they need a corner. So
Jalen Tolbert, I'll be my first bold pick of the draft, Colton, like you did at number one.
I like it. I mean, you're talking about a guy that had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons at South Alabama, 8 touchdowns both those years. I mean, Dak Prescott and all those other weapons. He won't he'll be expected to contribute, but he won't have to be a number one, which I think is big. Right. I like the pick. Like you said, a fast guy, around that 6'1", 6'2", 6'3" range of $190. I mean, yep. I think he's solid enough to be able to hold up there too. I'm the Bills here. So you've pretty much had the entire wide receiver class go. It seems like ahead of you when you have a need at wide receiver. I think they're gonna have to wait till the second round because I think right here I know Sky Moore's there, but I mean, is he the best of the remaining guys? That's the question. But I mean, Treylon Burks is still there. Oh man, this is tough because you got Treylon Burks, Jahan Dotson. You could get in the second round, but do you pass up Devontae Wyatt? I think not. I think you go Devontae Wyatt because I feel like he's a guy that him and Jordan Davis in the middle there they just wreaked havoc. I mean, I'm really excited to see what they do. I think that Devontae Wyatt would be an instant guy that they just plug in right away, and he just makes a serious impact.
And this is the best roster in the NFL.
Yeah,
I think they have the best quarterback in the NFL. I think they have a really good receiving core. I think they have a really, really good defense. And, why not add Devontae Wyatt to that really, really good defense? I love that pick.
So now we continue here, 26. I know this is interesting. You just take Devontae Wyatt there at 25. I think they've got a lot of options. But, Dan, who do we got at 26 to kind of – I mean, the Titans, needs a wide receiver, guard, center, edge. What do you got?
It's a need that no one's talking about, and that's linebacker. And the only reason that it's a need that you address here is because you've got your pick of two absolute studs in Devin Lloyd and Nakobe Dean. And love me or hate me for it, I'm taking Nakobe Dean here. Mm-hmm. I really like this guy's football IQ. I think this kid is I think he's a guy who can run your defense from day one. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to Nakobe Dean here for the Titans. Like you say, there's a lot of other needs here. Zion Johnson is definitely a tempting pick at this point. If you think he's a first-round talent, this is definitely a good spot for him to go. But I'm going to go into Kobe Dean here because you draft the guy that you didn't think was going to fall into your lap, and he did. You had your choice in this scenario. You had your choice of the best two linebackers in the draft. You take the guy who's probably going to run your defense for the years to come.
Yep. I can't believe Devin Lloyd falls that far. I don't know. That's literally what it could be like if one pick goes wrong or one pick goes awry. We can find a guy like, oh man, I'm sorry. I'll let you go, Hunter. I can just ramble.
No, I could talk like this all night, but you're right. Devin Lloyd is an absolute piss missile. Pardon my language, but
that's fine.
Wherever the ball is, that's where Devin Lloyd is. I mean, he knows where the ball is. I watched him in the Rose Bowl game, and that is one of the best games that I've ever seen from a linebacker, regardless of who it is. I mean, he's instinctive, he's physical, and he is going to make some team, probably in the 20s, happy, just because linebacker isn't that much of a, teams don't really value it as much as they used to. Mm-hmm. Speaking of things that don't get valued as much as they used to, remember when running backs were high picks? You remember when running backs like Adrian Peterson, Saquon Barkley, Todd Gurley, they were generational talents. And here at 27, Tom Brady, this might be it. This might be it for Tom Brady. They don't need a receiver, but their best running back option is Leonard Fournette. So let's get him Breece Hall. Let's end the slide for Breece Hall from Iowa State, running back. Again,
the fact that you're saying 27 is a slide for Breece Hall is, utterly shocking.
When you look at his talent, it is, because this is a good running back. I think he scored a touchdown in every single game that he played at Iowa State. It was something crazy. I think he had it's a ridiculous amount, but he would look so good next to Tom Brady next year. I mean, it's not a need, but again, Tampa Bay can go best player available because they don't really have a lot of needs. They re-signed everyone. So let's get Breece Hall to Tampa Bay. I think he would look really, really good in that Buccaneers helmet. I think they're going to be the favorites in the NFC next year.
Who did they lose? Who was it? Alex Kappa that they lost? I think it was.
They did. Yeah, that's true.
So even if they do go, they could go Breece Hall here, Dylan Parham in the second, or later on in the third if he falls. But I do like
Zion Johnson.
Zion Johnson. Yeah, I do think that's interesting, man. You're right though. I was literally going to bring up that up and I forgot about it because we talk about, like you said, Adrian Peterson, those guys that go in the top 10 last year. Try this out for size. I think it was the Patriots that got a guy like Ramondre Stevenson in something like the 4th round. It's you can find these guys, and it's a travesty because you got these really talented guys. Delvin Cook was a 2nd round pick. Of course, he had some a shoulder injury issue. Guys like Joe Mixon as well. It's just these guys are so talented, but we are seeing a little bit of a devalue or a devaluing of the running backs. I don't know the best way to say it, but anyway, I also saw an article that we could see the same thing for wide receivers in the future, for contracts, not necessarily from draft stock, but contracts, which I think you could definitely make a case for. Anyway, I'm sorry to keep us rambling here, but I will go 28, and you just made the Breece Hall pick. That's interesting. I like that pick because here's the thing. I'm here at 28. I'm the Packers. I already got my wide receiver. O-line, I don't see this would be a prime trading down spot because both your tackles went. You've got wide receiver. You could go get Treylon Burks or Sky Moore. I don't think you double down. If the Packers really wanted to really elevate their offense, potentially they could go 2 wide receivers here. Or do you go Zion Johnson? This is a little wild for me. I'm going to go a little bit weird here. I'm going to go Jermaine Johnson the second. Here's why. I know that edge is not necessarily a need. Jermaine Johnson is a guy that, and I don't think he's ever, to my recollection, I don't think he's ever played at a 3-4. But I would be really interested to see with his measurables and the way that he plays. You got guys like Rashawn Gary, but you lose Darius Smith. You do need edge pieces here. You need safety help. There's a lot more needs than just wide receiver O-line here. Jermaine Johnson, was a top 15 pick for a long time. And now this man, I don't know why, but you've already got your wide receiver of the future. Jermaine Johnson come in, doesn't have to contribute right away. O-line, you can get in the second and third rounds. I mean, I have said this from the beginning. Luke Wattenberg, to me, he is the Creed Humphrey of this year's draft. I've also said that guys like Dylan Parham in the third round, Marquise Hayes, there's plenty of talent here. Again, Abram Lucas would probably be my favorite pick for the Packers in the second round, but I think Jermaine Johnson, just the physical tools, this edge class, I think I really like that pick at 28.
Yeah. I'm looking at the Chiefs right now, I'm trying to decide if Devin Lloyd is the pick here, and it's not, and it's ridiculous to me that he's going to keep sliding.
Nick Bolton,
but they have their linebackers.
Nick Bolton was a stud last year.
Nick Bolton's a stud, but at the same time,
I know.
But they've got They've cut Anthony Willie Gay Jr.
Mm-hmm.
too. Like, they have the linebackers, so how do you pass on? How do you not draft Devin Lloyd, but how do you draft Devin Lloyd and try to find a spot for him?
Mm-hmm.
At 29, you find a spot for Devin Lloyd, right?
I mean,
you have to. You have to.
Like, you have to. There's no way. It's Devin Lloyd.
Or you go edge. I think you have to go edge at some point.
I went Devin Lloyd with the 29th pick, and the nice thing is you have 2 picks back to back.
Yep.
You're the Chiefs. You can go Devin Lloyd and you can go get your edge guy, but Devin Lloyd is just not a guy that is gonna drop to 29, and it's not a need, but it's a have to.
Yep.
Right. Like, you have to take Devin Lloyd at 29 because you can't let him go. You can't let him drop into the Lions or God forbid into the second round.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I like it.
If Devin Lloyd falls to the second round, it's a travesty.
Oh yeah,
But I think
if Devin Lloyd falls to 29, it's a travesty. Let's be honest with ourselves here, gentlemen.
But again, he is undersized. Let's be real, he is undersized. So that's going to be interesting to see where he goes. I think he could go as high as 12. I think he could be a Viking, but I also think he could go as low as second round.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's his floor.
Yep.
So KC at 30, they traded speed. They got rid of Tyreek Hill. And I don't know how you guys feel about this guy, but I'm going to go off the board a little bit again with my receiver pick because I do think they need to replace Tyreek Hill, and I think they do it here at 30. I'm going Christian Watson, wide receiver, North Dakota State.
Whoa!
Ran a 4.31, one of the fastest guys in the combine. He's 6'5", great hands. He ain't going to fall past the second round, and he could go as high. I've been reading a lot of mocks that have him going in the first round, actually as high as 22 to Green Bay.
Yep.
So teams love his size. They love his speed. But again, Colton, you can agree with me on this. The production in college wasn't really there for a guy that should be dominant at that level, right? Maybe it was losing Trey Lance and not having the really good quarterbacks the last 2 years in the spring of 21 and now in the fall of 21 as well.
Mm-hmm.
But he's a project. Again, this is a boomer bust pick. It could work out. It could not work out. But Andy Reid, I think
in a good spot if he goes to Kansas City because Andy Reid's one of the best offensive minds in football. So let's go Christian Watson here to 30. That's my final pick of the night, and I went out with a bang, I think.
Yeah, I here's the thing about Christian Watson. I think a lot of people, I get the whole the argument of not having great quarterback play, but also we've seen wide receivers, that have all the physical tools that do well in the NFL, and I think he's a guy that could definitely do that. And I mean, Patrick Mahomes, arguably the best quarterback in the league right now. Yeah, I think he's a guy that that does make a lot of sense for me. I'll one-up you this next pick though with the Bengals. Maybe not one-up you, but I think we want to talk about like how the board fell perfectly for any NFL team. I mean, Zion Johnson here at 31. I don't think when you talk about we've all said it. There's no debate in my mind. You got Jonah Williams at left tackle, Jackson Carman at left guard, Ted Karras at center, Alex Kappa, Lael Collins. If you replace Jackson Carman with a guy like Zion Johnson, who can also play center, I mean, I don't think this offensive line went from being was having what was probably one of the main reasons that they didn't play as well as they did in the Super Bowl, and now all of a sudden it could be considered a position of strength. So I mean, I think this was the perfect all around falling for the Bengals, who honestly they got a lot better with this one pick.
Yeah, I'm going to put this out for you guys, and this goes back to an old Minnesota bias episode. There's two teams that I dislike above all other teams, and that's the Green Bay Packers and the North Dakota State University Bison. I want, with my whole heart, Christian Watson to be a Packer. Now, I don't want the Vikings to have to play against Christian Watson twice a season.
Mm-hmm.
But, oh my gosh, do I want to watch diehard Bison Viking fans watch their dude at NDSU, Christian Watson, and now they have to say, do I still have to cheer for him because he's a Packer?
Yep.
I want to see how many NDSU fans go out and buy Christian Watson Packer jerseys, just like they all went out and bought Carson Wentz Philadelphia Eagles jerseys.
Mm-hmm.
I want that. I want them to have the internal struggle. In my most evil way, the darkest parts of my heart want this to happen for all of the wrong reasons. Mm-hmm. It's a bad part about me, but I really want it to happen.
So last pick of the night here. I mean, I get that feeling, my man. Last pick of the night here. Who do you got at 32? I mean, there's a lot of good talent left on the board.
There's a lot of good talent here, and for a team that just needs a lot of help, and you go between two guys. It's
Travis Jones is
go for the edge rusher or you go for the cornerback. You're coming back at 34, and the guy that I really don't think is going to be there, and the fact is there's just more depth at the position, is Boyamafa. I think he's going to be there at 34. I'm going Kyer Elam.
Mm-hmm.
Elam Dong. Names are not my strength, you guys. So I think that's a really good spot for him to get picked. And you need in the NFC North right now, you need pass rushers and you need corners. Mm-hmm. You just do. So 32, and then if we were to go into it, I think 34 they come right back and take Nick Benito, Drake Jackson, Boyamafa, one of these guys who is a really good guy who could sneak into the first round, but Elam is just a guy that I don't think makes it past the Jaguars at 33.
No.
Hey, Danny, you know what? Go ahead, go on. Go ahead.
You're fine. I was just gonna say that he's one of those guys that he reminds me a lot of and I get the comparison of Xavier Rhodes. He's got like that length, that speed you like too. So I think he could be that guy that I don't think he makes it out of the first round. I hope he doesn't, because something usually means something happened. But
I will be shocked if this pick is not for a quarterback.
Really?
I will be stunned if it's not for a Matt Corral, a Sam Howell, Desmond Ridder, a guy like that, strictly because of that fifth-year option. It is such an important part of drafting a quarterback,
mm-hmm.
because you get that extra year of grooming him. And with the Lions, you already have Jared Goff, they're gonna take their bumps with Jared Goff until they can find a quarterback. So if they fall, I will be shocked if 32 isn't a quarterback.
That's a good point.
Like Matt Corral, I just don't see corner as a huge need for Detroit, especially at 32. I think if you're going to take anyone, it's going to be Sauce Gardner at 2. If you are going to take a cornerback, but obviously this draft he wasn't taken, or he was taken at 1. But I love Matt Corral. I think he's probably my favorite quarterback in this class. I think Kenny Pickett is my most ready, and he's probably my favorite to start next year. But I love Matt Corral. I love the project.
Paxton Lynch.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
better than Paxton Lynch was in college. he's 10 times more talented than Paxton Lynch.
Paxton Lynch was all length and he looked like he had arm for days, and then he got to the NFL and it didn't exactly. I don't know.
I don't see Matt Corral panning out in the NFL. I just don't. I
don't know. I really like Matt Corral. I think he's got a shot.
I would take Desmond Ridder over Matt Corral every day of the week and twice on Sunday.
But you also did say that Mac Jones was going to be bad, so I want to on that one.
I'm gonna question you on that. I don't know if I ever said he was going to be bad. I said he was never going to be as good as Trey Lance. Don't get me wrong. Still wrong. I'm still wrong. Mac Jones was phenomenal this year. But you also said that Mac Jones would get taken at number 3, and I said Trey Lance would get taken at 3, and we all know who was right there.
Yeah. That's not a lie.
Coulda, coulda, woulda. Who gives a crap?
I have to ask you, who was your favorite pick of that first round with our draft? I don't mean to drag this on, but
no worries.
I just think it's interesting to see who you guys think of your favorite pick of that draft.
Of this draft we just did, or last year?
Of this year's draft, yep. We just did.
Okay, thank you, because I was like, because there's actually quite a bit. So my favorite pick, if I had to pick here, my favorite pick.
I'll go while you're thinking, because I love Andrew Booth to the Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna give this one. I'm gonna give my draft trophy symbolically here to Hunter on this one, because I really love that pick. The things that I'm saying about Andrew Booth Jr. are just, there's so many positive things. To quote, and this is a guy who I listen to a lot and who more people should listen to, and that's Jordan Reed, labeled him a jump on the table kind of guy. You jump on the table for Andrew Booth Jr. And at 21, I just think that's a really good pick.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I will say, out of all of this, I do think it's got to be Kyle Hamilton, the Vikings. There's a reason I DM'd Hunter right away as soon as I saw that draft. I was just like, Harrison Smith, man, Harry the Hitman was somebody that I just hit. That was the draft that I really started following. The draft, Matt Khalil fell, or the Vikings traded down, got Matt Khalil, and then they traded back up into the first and got a guy like Harrison Smith. Like, he was such a bad play. Like he was a bad man. Every single time never was going to be a Sunday that he wasn't on the field and something big didn't happen because of him. And you get his definitely his replacement. I don't think there's a question of that. I think if you can continually develop a guy with the attributes of a guy like Kyle Hamilton, I think you just really love that. Kyle Hamilton, the Vikings, is just it's nasty. It's nasty.
To me, I love the Trent McDuffie pick. I mean, to Baltimore, he's not big, but he just didn't get thrown much at Washington. I mean, He was a guy that you had to be aware of. He's a ball hawk. His arms are really small, which is going to affect him going up against the bigger receivers. But I mean, his instincts are really good. He's a good pick. And Baltimore, I don't think corners a huge need, but yeah, if McDuffie falls to them, I think you got to take him for sure. So I love that pick.
Absolutely. Well, I want to say thank you to all you guys. You guys coming in here, and I was honestly, and it was kind of funny because Hunter, as soon as he DM'd me, I was literally going to push send on asking both of you guys to come on talking about doing this mock draft, and I think I'm comfortable.
I had to ask you, Cole. This is my favorite time. I mean, this is great.
I honestly, I would love to make this a yearly tradition, doing a mock draft on whose ever podcast. It doesn't matter, but I really appreciate you guys for coming on. Daniel Revier, Paul Revier's cousin himself. I thank you so much, man. I thank you both.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, this is so much fun.
We've got
one more folding chair butt right now, and it's just completely worth it.
I know. But we've got one more week until we can kind of answer some of these questions, and I'm so excited but I got to say thank you one last time. And once again, make sure you guys give a follow and a listen to the Minnesota Bias podcast. Well, again, we'll provide it in the description down below. Make sure you guys leave a like and a comment. It helps people find the show. We greatly appreciate all the support you guys have given us, and we love every single one of you. But with that, we'll go ahead and get out of here. And as always, from the Sports Beat podcast, peace out.